trends in sales are just like trends on TikTok, and they last for a while and they're really, really hot and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. And then 6 weeks later, somebody is like, oh, I would never use that tactic. It's so overplayed. And something else is like the new thing. So it's just kind of like things move quickly. And in sales, you need to be like on the cusp of the newest thing at all times in order to really stand out.
I smashed my quota, short memory, I forgot what I sold you. Sales pro wisdom like Yoda, I wonder which my prospects I should phone up.
It's interesting because I feel like it's more productive to break down the why behind why do these trends come? What is the actual, or even when you look at, as a content creator, being on TikTok, for example, why are certain trends popular? Why do they work? Why do they work in the algorithm? For an example, a really popular trend right now is the 7 seconds of audio, long text on screen. But you break down the why, it's because as you're trying to read the small text, the video's looping over and over again. So they're getting like 5 views because you're trying to read the small text. So here we go. We just really jumped right into it today. Welcome to the Life After Sales podcast, speedrun intro edition. I am here with Zoe from Spekit. And Zoe is just a super awesome force in this community, in this space right now. Really pioneering what it means to be a community architect, which I love that word, by the way. Zoe, why don't you introduce yourself real quickly? Give us a rundown of what you're currently involved in, who you are, and then we'll jump a little bit into your life after sales.
Yeah. So my name is Zoe Hartsfield. I made my title community architect because I am building community at Spekit. Spekit is a real-time training and enablement platform. So think of like digital adoption and training and enablement, and marry those two things together, and you got Spekit. And it's a really awesome tool. And so I'm really excited to be building community with our customers and with the enablement community at large. It's going to be a really fun year, but I mean, I love writing. I love creating content. I have a little side hustle where I write and create content for other people as them. Like I basically pretend to be other people and I write for them. Love ghostwriting. And what else do I do? I mean, really, because I have a background in sales, my role in community, I just view it as like, can I make sales easier? Can I make customer success easier and like more valuable? Can I touch all the things and just help everyone? So I like being a little bit of a Jill of all trades, if you will. And yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Love that, Zoe. And this is super awesome that we have someone who's representing and leading in the community space, because I think that is one of the hottest trends in 2022, community-led growth. And I know you briefly touched upon that, Zoe, but what does that mean for the uninitiated? What is community and partnerships and leveraging that to drive revenue?
Yeah, so I think community means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and at different organizations, community looks different. So I actually usually like to start with what community isn't. Community is not a following. It's not, oh, look, Zoe has like 16,000 followers on LinkedIn. What a big community. It's like, no, that's an audience. I view that as different. It's not.
Correction, I think Zoe has 19,000 now.
Okay, well,
to give the flowers where they
yeah.
due.
Well, thank you. Whatever number, insert any large number there. Like that's not your community necessarily. Right. It's also not, oh, we always get 3,000 people to register for our webinars, or like our email list is like 5,000 people. Like nobody cares. Community is not a number. Community is a group of people coming together to solve a problem, or because they have some level of like commonality and common ground. And I like the idea of community being people coming together in hopes of like bettering one another. You know, we're not just hanging out for the sake of like, it's like a water cooler and I'm bored. It's like, hey, you know a thing that I don't know. Can I pick your brain? Can I offer you some value? It's creating these spaces for us to be together and to grow together. And I think everybody has a sense of community, whether they know it or not. It may not be in your work life, but like I know I have a community in my personal life, a group that I hang out with all the time. And we like watch movies and we like drink wine and eat cheese. Like that's like a thing that we do, you know? And we're doing it to like spend time together and do life together. And in a remote world and a post-COVID world, everybody is craving connection. So I think the benefit of community today, stronger, like part of the reason it's popping off in the last year and a half, because it existed long before me, but part of the reason it's blowing up is like there is a desire for people to feel connected and to feel a sense of belonging and a part of something. And I think communities deliver on that, as well as help people like level up and get better. So that's what community is. And I am building one from pretty much zero, but like not zero because we don't have customers. We have lots of customers. It's just like we don't have a dedicated community for them. And so I feel like I'm in the perfect position because the product's cool, the team's cool, the customers are cool. And now I'm just like, all right, we're going to like kind of organize this into a thing and watch it grow. So that's my job. That's what being a community architect is for me.
Z the builder out here.
The builder. I should change that to my headline.
You know what I like the term community, but I see how it's evolving. I almost want to use the word ecosystem. Because if much like in nature in like a biome, you have different types of roles of plants, different animals, sizes of animals, partners, customers, prospects, friendlies, and then friends of customers too, right? And I think a good way to break it down I've heard is that sales is one selling to many, sales is one selling to one. Marketing is one selling to many, or a few selling to many, and then community is many selling to many.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like this opportunity to turn your customers into like true champions. Like, can you generate referrals? Can you have that customer love turn into an acquisition channel? But I think before you even do that, like you got to start with, hey, how do we honor our customers that exist first and just provide them even more value? So when I think about community as it is, we're at ground zero right now and I'm doing a bunch of research and doing a lot of prep work. Community is going to evolve in stages. So we'll start with customers and then we'll probably have it be a lot about the product. And then we'll probably introduce like industry best practices and role specific best practices. We'll create content for them. And then maybe it's, hey, we're going to invite people who aren't our customers to be a part of this because now we have best practices for the industry. And now we have new people who could potentially be part of this acquisition engine. And then we're going to create a podcast. Then we're going to create like a weekly webinar. We're going to have written content. Maybe we're going to bring on content partners. Like there is just like this ever evolving, growing thing that I can see so clearly as how we're going to path it out. But a lot of it ultimately is going to be dictated by the members of the community. I think that's the one thing that makes communities really successful is when the members get to drive a little bit of like where you go. Because if I just like showed up today and was like, this is what sales enablement people want, and I'm going to build a community, no one's going to come to that party. I don't know anything about, I don't know nothing about sales enablement, but I'm not an expert. They're the experts. So why wouldn't I defer to them to help me like build this? So I think there's a sense of ownership that comes in community too for the members that makes it like so attractive for people to be a part of.
Hear that. I think that I heard a very strong common thread there was the concept of building value and generating more new value. As the community grows and evolves and you're taking active feedback from the community, it's gonna dictate the strategy going in. And I see a really strong use case here that you're touching on is not only is community a growth engine for the revenue, it actually reinforces it's a success engine as well. By aligning your brand and your community and the people to interexchange more value, you're actually better serving your current customers.
And can you elevate your customers too? Like it's another opportunity. At the end of the day, like my philosophy as a salesperson was always, did you ever hear about the hero's journey? Like,
yes.
Okay. Yeah. So when I was a rep, I was taught the hero's journey. And that was like a thing we did in discovery. And I remember the person doing the training was like, you're not the hero of the story. You're not the hero of the story. And
sales is like Merlin type of thing.
Yeah. Right? They like beat it into me that like, you're not the hero. And I was like, okay, I got that.
But it's like we're selling Excalibur and the prospect is King Arthur.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's 100% it is your customer is the hero. Your product is the sword they use to slay the dragon. So when all is said and done, who are we celebrating? we're celebrating the customer. And so like, can we elevate those stories? Can we elevate those professions? The people who are in there doing the work, we just sell tools. They're the ones actually doing the thing. So that's where I think there's like a ton of opportunity in community from a success perspective to just elevate the people who are doing the damn thing.
Right. Wow. Zoe, you're just so incredibly well versed on this subject matter. And to tie this all back to the subject of the podcast, life after sales, first, I want to dive in a little bit to your past experience in sales and your pivot towards a more marketing and more community focused path, and also how some of that background in sales has enabled, shout out to enablement, has enabled you, Zoe, to succeed and thrive in your current function. Yeah. So I know that you were an SDR BDR at BombBomb initially, right?
Yeah, early days.
Yeah, so tell us more about some of your early sales experience and then getting into the SaaS space.
Yeah, so I had no tech experience like, most people who find themselves in tech, either like in college or right out of college. Like I had pitched credit cards for Banana Republic, and I had worked a customer service job for T. Rowe Price, so like big finance. And I was still in college. So I didn't really have a lot to lean on as far as experience, but I knew how to tell a story. And so when I interviewed for this job, I think they were just desperate for bodies, to be totally honest. But I told a story about like selling a credit card to a customer. And I was like, honestly, I didn't even really have to sell it. What I did was I like read the manual front to back of like, I learned everything there was to learn about the credit card. You know that pamphlet they give you when you sign up for a credit card that nobody ever reads? I read that. And then I read all of the the reviews online about the credit card. And then I learned about like the credit hit it would take. And so anytime somebody would come up and I was like, you're about to buy $1,000 suit. If you open up this credit card today, this is what you would save exactly. And like not 20%, like I would just calculate it right there. And I'd be like, this is what you would save. And they'd be like, oh, interesting. Well, I don't know. I don't want to hit my credit. I'm like, well, I don't know what it is today, but last week when I checked, on average, you're looking at anywhere from like a 7 to 19 point credit hit, and it usually rebounds within about 3 to 6 months. And then like they would just say yes, because I knew about the product. Like nobody ever reads the pamphlet. Yeah. And I learned very quickly that like product knowledge is your competitive advantage. And at my store that I worked at, we were competing for opening up the most credit cards. So like I was the top rep at that store to open credit cards. And I used that in my interview at BombBomb to get this sales job. So then they sit me in a seat. I booked my first meeting. It no shows. Gosh, it was terrible. But you learn and you grow, and you just like learn how to have conversations with strangers. That's all it is can you strike up an interesting conversation with a stranger on the phone, over text, over email, over DM, over video, what have you. And I very quickly learned that I liked that. I didn't love that I would have this one conversation with them and then like pass them off and never talk to them again. And that's not the case in every single sales org, but like that was just how it worked. It was like pretty transactional at the company I was working at that time. And so I was like, I don't really want to be an AE, because all they're doing is like the middle part where they like pick up the conversation, close the deal, and then they never talk to them again. And so even though I was like offered a promotion, I was like, I don't want to be an AE. So I took an outbound mid-market BDR role, did that for a few months, and very quickly was like, wow, I hate cold calls more than just about anything. And not because I wasn't good at them, but because I just genuinely did not enjoy it. I wouldn't say I was great, but I definitely like was decent. And I booked the most meetings through video DMs and through email. And I was like, what if I could like use these skills more? And so that's when I started doubling down on social media, like LinkedIn. That's when I started meeting with the marketing team and seeing if there was anything I could do to like add value. I met with the VP and said, hey, what skills would I need to be the obvious choice when like one of these 3 roles opens up again because you've promoted X employee? And so I did that for like 3 or 4 months. And I met with the hiring manager and I met with the VP. And then lo and behold, somebody moved on. They DM'd me and said, hey, I'm putting in my notice today. I'm recommending you to so-and-so. And then the VP emailed me the next day, hey, this role, I'm opening it up. I want you to apply. Went through the interview process, went up against somebody else. They asked me in the interview there's another candidate in here with a lot more years of experience. Why should we hire you over her? And I don't even think I thought about it for more than half a second. I have no idea why I said this or why it came out of my mouth, but I was just like, I don't know that you should. I was like, maybe you shouldn't hire me. Like, if you want somebody with experience, I don't check that box. I was like, if you want somebody who knows the culture and who's had thousands of conversations with our customers and our prospects and can learn those skills, then I'm your girl. But if you need the experience, then like I would hire her. And then he told me that was when he knew he wanted me on the team. So like, I think there's a level of self-awareness that you get in sales. There's something that happens when you get hung up on like 3,000 times. Where you just learn to like take a look at yourself and understand, like, was this me? Do I take this personally? No. And you get like a clear, like not overconfidence, not super self-deprecating, just like, this is the situation we're in.
Yeah.
And that really helped me. And so all of those things, learning how to write emails, learning how to send videos, learning how to have conversations with strangers, how to create compelling subject lines and interesting, posts that people would read, that all helped me get into marketing and has helped me grow in that.
Absolutely. So Zoe, it seems like you had an interesting journey through SDR, BDR land, decided sales might not have been the path for you. And then through just being humble and asking for help, but also holding yourself accountable and upskilling, leveling up, beyond the normal Call of Duty, right? So when I like the term making yourself the obvious pick, that sounds clearly like what you did to do that. So to pivot a bit, once you did move into that role, what were some of the biggest challenges as a beginning marketer coming from sales?
Yeah, well, I mean, in sales, it's pretty common to have like sales training, right? In marketing, at least in my experience, that's like not really the case. You're kind of expected to like show up and like know how to do your job. So there's a little bit of a learning curve that was like pretty aggressive as far as just like had to learn new tools, had to learn new processes, had to learn who the stakeholders are. In sales, I very much controlled my day. I had a manager, but I was basically just reporting numbers to them. Like, I didn't need approvals to send an email. In marketing, like, you got a lot of stakeholders, you need a lot of eyes on it. I am terrible at spelling and grammar. I need people to look at my copy to make sure they don't send out gibberish to our customers, So there's just like a process, and sales is like gymnastics. Where like, yeah, you're on a team, but at the end of the day, it's like your individual score that matters. And like all the individual scores are added up to make the team score, right? I would say marketing's more like soccer. Like, you need all 11 bodies on the field. You are passing, you are going back and forth, you're running together, you're running as a team, you're running plays together, and you win and lose as a team. Whereas in sales, you don't win and lose as a team. You win on your own and somebody else loses and you're like, whatever, I still won, or vice versa. And so it's just adjusting to that team mentality when you're so used to being on your own. Like, there's a pressure in a good way that's like, wow, if I don't hold up my end of the bargain, like, I'm actually dragging the team down with me. And so there's definitely a sense of camaraderie and collaboration that I love, but I had to learn when I moved into marketing.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges for me as I've shifted some of my focus over to marketing has been, you mentioned this with the being in charge of your own destiny, or like, what can you control? And I think that salespeople often fall in the trap of, hey, I think it's good to take full ownership of your results, right? But it's also to a certain extent unhealthy, because zooming way back, just looking at the industry and the way quotas are set up, the way that, individual contributor, like, just the role is managed, across the board, not everyone is set up for success. Now, I do think that there's a higher percentage of that's under people's control than we often like to give credit for. But yeah, marketing's a lot different because, there's no board with your name and a number next to it. So and often results are measured longer term, right? I think especially early on, as an SDR or a early full cycle AE, specifically, you're often on shorter quota cycles, be that monthly, right? And then whereas marketing, you're measured on at the minimum quarterly, but often half year and full year results. So it's a long build. There's going to be peaks and valleys. And one of the things that was challenging for me was in sales, I would get consistent progress, even if I wasn't closing deals, having solid next steps, getting good stakeholder buy-in, just running the process and prospecting new accounts, having new buyer conversations. That would always be a marker of progress. Whereas marketing could often look like a lot of dirty work done behind the scenes, late nights that take a longer term vision to see a payoff. So that for me was one of the biggest challenges.
I agree with that. And I also think it's interesting because also in marketing, it's like not as measurable in general. Like you could do the work and it could have worked and you may not know because attribution is a nightmare. And so like there's many times where I'm like, man, I wish that it was like, wow, I did 300 dials and I booked 8 meetings. Like I don't have that same sort of return on investment visually in marketing, but I can know like, okay, I know that this made an impact. I know that like there's brand awareness happening, but because it's so hard to measure, like it's hard for a past salesperson to just accept that there's like an element of my work that I'll never know if I'll get credit for.
Yeah. Wow. That is such a poignant point. So Zoe, what are some strategies that you use to try and mitigate that?
Well, early days, and this has changed for me, like, because I was such a, individual contributor, like I want to win. I want people to see that like I'm doing good work. I had a spreadsheet of like deals that I knew that I influenced. So if somebody, when I was working at BombBomb, DM me and was like, hey, I saw your like post about like video strategy. Like my team could really use some video strategy. Can I talk to you about it? And I was like, hey, let me actually introduce you to one of our AEs, Danny. And I would just like note that like I made that intro and I generated 32 opportunities in like, we'll call it 8 weeks as a marketer, like just people inbound DMing me because of the content I was creating on LinkedIn. And I was so proud of that sheet. And now I don't care as much. I think part of it is because the organization I work at now, it's like one team, one dream. Marketing and business development is all geared towards the same. We are generating pipeline. Yeah. So like, there's no need for me to like take credit for anything. I don't feel that pressure anymore. I don't see it as like me against the world anymore. Like I really am on a team and I really do want to help other people succeed. I mean, I think there is an element of when the team does something, like if it's an initiative, we did like our Series B, I'm going to track wins that I see would encourage the team. Like, look at everybody's effort. Look what it has generated. Like, can we celebrate wins together? And like, that's not me being a saint. Like, I'm still a really selfish person. I still want people to give me the atta girls and the good jobs, but it's less about like, can I win alone? It's like, can we all stand atop that podium together? And so when I'm looking for that attribution, I'm looking for ways to excite and motivate the team of like, look what you did, look what we did together. And so, sometimes it's as much as like dark social, like random, like pulling screenshots of texts and comments that I get from people are like, oh, saw your boy Reese on LinkedIn, like loved his post, did like, saw that you were over at Spekit, wanted to say what's up. Like, I want to share those wins with the team. And that's really more so what I'm tracking these days.
That's so great. I mean, because tracking is something that's you're spending time and energy on, right? And are you doing it in a way that is not growth focused and maybe self focused, or are you doing it in a way that it helps the attribution side of things as kind of proof, but it's also uplifting the team and one team, one dream, like reinvesting that energy and time into the culture so people benefit in other ways. And I think that's a strong parallel to the continuity of this entire conversation with community and the process of just circulating that value around more for everybody. And Zoe, I know we're a little bit over time, so I have one last question for you, and I want to make sure you have a chance to plug anything that you would like at this end here. But the other piece we didn't talk about as much was your freelancing work on the agency side, writing and what have you. So what was that experience like? When did that start? And how has your background in sales influenced and helped you in that realm?
Yeah, so early days it started because I was consulting with a company called Greaser, and we were writing sales and marketing copy, mostly sales copy for like young startups who were implementing outreach. So I would write sales sequences, which is something that I knew how to do because I was a rep writing my own sales sequences a couple of years ago. So that was my first foray into it. And then somebody reached out to me like independently of that and was like, hey, so and so told me that like you might do this. Like it was just like a friend told them that I did that. And they were like, are you for hire? And so I like reached out to Greaser and I was like, hey, these people came to me like outside of it. Are you guys working them? Like, are you talking to them? Am I not allowed to do this? And they were like, no, go for it. We've never talked to this company. Like, that's all you. And they were really encouraging of that like entrepreneurial spirit, going for it. So I took on my own independent client, and then they referred me somebody else. And then someone else I knew told somebody. And then all of a sudden I had 8 clients, and I was like, wait, what is happening? Like, I am just, I was an SDR literally 5 minutes ago.
Right.
I shouldn't be a consultant right now. And then Kelsey, Kelsey actually encouraged me, our friend from Dooley. Hello, Kelsey. She encouraged me to just like LLC it and make it legit. And so we did. And I expanded it to now I do like brand coaching, and I do ghostwriting, which is honestly what I enjoy even more than the sales copy and teaching people how to like build their brand. But the ghostwriting is really fun, writing newsletters, choppy copy, punchy copy. Like I want to write something that makes somebody feel something or that makes them better at their job or life. And if I can do that, like that's really enjoyable for me. And the fact that people pay me to do it is also a good time. But because I have that sales background, like I know how to follow up when people reach out to me. I also know how to disqualify people that I don't want to work with.
That's right.
It's just like, it's a cool skill. I don't think I would have been able to jump into it nearly as quickly had I not had that background in sales.
Yeah, I think particularly the ghostwriting and some of the brand coaching side of things. I think that as salespeople, we're often taught to be curious, show genuine curiosity, active listening. So I think those skills might also have translated to helping in that regard. And obviously, you've been a killer SDR in the past, having those sales acumen and skills, working in the revenue space, having the knowledge of just like the whole revenue engine and sales process funnel type stuff, I'm sure is a huge asset. So thank you so much, Zoe, for hopping on. It was amazing to catch up with you and see the exciting new things that you're involved in. So where can the listener find more of your stuff and get in contact with you for your services?
Yeah. So find me on LinkedIn, Zoe Hartsfield. And you could also find me on Twitter, but like, to be honest, I don't really know how to use Twitter. I think I have 2 tweets. I started like a month ago. So maybe it'll be more interesting by the time you listen to this, but probably not. Don't count on it. Just find me on LinkedIn. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Zoe. And go to, I don't even know where I'm sending people right now. This podcast is sponsored by saleswrap.io. That's saleswrap.io, the premier creative agency for B2B. Hit us up for top of funnel, account-based creative, and zany marketing plays that buck the trend. We zag when they zig.